Olivia Weston's heart quickened as the wild mustang reared up against the ropes, its dark mane whipping like wildfire against the clear Montana sky. Yet the man in the corral never flinched, his posture calm and steady as the massive animal fought against its constraints. Instead of harsh commands or brutal force, his voice carried softly across the dusty yard, words she couldn't quite hear but whose gentle cadence seemed to flow like water over stone. It was 1887, and White Rock was a town still finding its footing in the expanding Western territories. Olivia had arrived just 3 days prior, sent to live with her aunt after her parents' passing in a Chicago fire. The journey west had been long and filled with trepidation, but nothing had prepared her for the sight of Owen Sullivan taming that wild horse with nothing but patience and a quiet strength that seemed at odds with his rugged exterior. "He's got away with them," came a voice from beside her. Olivia startled, turning to find a gray-haired woman watching the scene with knowing eyes. "That's my nephew, Owen," the woman continued. "Been breaking horses since he was 16. Never uses force when understanding will do." "Your nephew?" Olivia questioned, suddenly realizing this must be Martha Sullivan, her mother's sister and her only remaining family. "And you must be Olivia," Martha smiled, the creases around her eyes deepening. "Welcome to White Rock. I'd have met you at the station, but Owen's stallion took sick and needed tending." Olivia nodded, her attention drawn back to the corral where Owen had managed to approach the Mustang's side. His hand extended slowly, palm flat and unthreatening. The horse snorted, nostrils flaring, but didn't pull away when those fingers finally made contact with its quivering flank. "I've never seen anything like it," Olivia admitted. "Back in Chicago, the carriage drivers often whipped their horses into submission." Martha's face darkened. "That's not Owen's way. He believes a horse broken by force is never truly tamed, just waiting for the chance to bolt." Over the next hour, Olivia watched in fascination as Owen worked. The Mustang gradually relaxed under his touch, though occasionally it would still tense and sidestep nervously. Each time, Owen would pause, speaking in that same low, soothing tone until the animal calmed again. His eyes remained soft, even during moments of struggle, revealing a tenderness that stirred something unexpected within Olivia's chest. When Owen finally managed to slip a simple halter over the horse's head, a small cheer went up from the ranch hands who had gathered to watch. He led the Mustang in a slow circle, and though the animal was clearly still wary, it followed with tentative steps. Only then did Owen look up and notice Olivia standing beside his aunt. Their eyes met across the corral, and despite the distance, Olivia felt a jolt of connection that left her momentarily breathless. He tipped his hat in greeting, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Come," Martha said, touching Olivia's arm. "Let's get you settled. Owen will be busy with that Mustang for a while yet." The Sullivan Ranch was modest compared to some of the larger operations in the territory, but it was well maintained, with a sturdy 2-story farmhouse, a large barn, and several outbuildings. Martha showed Olivia to a bright corner bedroom on the 2nd floor. "It was your mother's room when we were girls," Martha explained, helping Olivia with her trunk. "I've kept it much the same." Olivia ran her fingers over the patchwork quilt on the bed. "It's lovely, Aunt Martha. Thank you for taking me in." Martha's eyes softened. "Family is family, child. Your mother would have done the same for my children had I been blessed with any." She moved toward the door. "Rest a bit. Supper's at 6. Owen comes in from the fields then." Left alone, Olivia unpacked her few belongings, placing the framed photograph of her parents on the bedside table. Her father had been a bookkeeper for a mercantile company, her mother a schoolteacher. Neither had prepared her for life on a ranch, but she was determined to adapt. From her window, she could see Owen in the distance, still working with the Mustang. Even from here, she could sense his patience, the respectful way he moved around the powerful animal. It was unlike anything she'd witnessed in the city, where utility often overrode compassion. When the supper bell rang later, Olivia had changed into her simplest dress, a practical navy blue cotton with minimal embellishments. She'd learned quickly on the journey west that her Chicago finery was ill-suited to frontier life. In the kitchen, Martha was placing a roast on the table while Owen washed up at the sink. He turned as she entered, and Olivia had her first close look at the man she'd been watching all afternoon. Owen Sullivan was tall, with broad shoulders honed from physical labor. His face was tanned from working outdoors, with lines at the corners of eyes the color of a summer sky. Dark hair, slightly too long, curled at his collar, and a day's stubble shadowed his jaw. He wasn't conventionally handsome like the polished gentlemen of Chicago society, but there was something magnetic about his presence. "Miss Weston," he nodded, drying his hands on a towel. "Welcome to White Rock. I'm Owen Sullivan." "Mr. Sullivan," she replied, suddenly conscious of her appearance after the long journey west. "I enjoyed watching you work with that horse today. It was remarkable." A flash of surprise crossed his features. "Most city folks think my methods take too long." "Perhaps they're too impatient to recognize true skill," she countered, the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. "Perhaps." Martha bustled between them. "Enough standing about. Sit down before the food gets cold." Dinner was simple but hearty: roast beef, potatoes, and fresh baked bread. Owen spoke little at first, but as Martha drew Olivia into conversation about her journey, he began to participate, asking thoughtful questions about Chicago and her life there. "Were you a teacher like your mother?" he asked, after Olivia mentioned her education at a women's academy. "No, though I assisted at my father's office with correspondence and accounts." She hesitated. "I hope I might find similar work here eventually." Owen and Martha exchanged a glance. "White Rock's growing," Martha said carefully, "but it's not Chicago. Job opportunities for women are limited." "The bank might need someone with numbers experience," Owen suggested. "Or the general store. Peterson's getting on in years and his ledgers are a mess." His consideration surprised her. Most men she knew would have dismissed her ambitions outright. "Thank you," Olivia said sincerely. "I'd appreciate any introduction you might provide." "I'll speak with Peterson tomorrow," he offered. "I'm delivering some horses to the Army outpost near his place." After dinner, Owen excused himself to check on the new Mustang. When he'd gone, Martha regarded Olivia with curious eyes. "He doesn't usually talk that much with strangers," she remarked. "You must have made an impression." Olivia felt a flush creep up her neck. "I simply admired his horsemanship." Martha's knowing smile suggested she wasn't fooled. "Owen's different from most men around here. His father, my late brother, believed in education alongside ranch work. Sent him to school back east for 2 years. That explains his vocabulary," Olivia mused. "He doesn't speak like the cowboys I met on the train." "Don't let that fool you," Martha warned good-naturedly. "He's still very much a man of the West. This land is in his blood." The next morning, Olivia woke to the sounds of the ranch coming alive: horses nickering, men calling to one another, the distant bawl of cattle. She dressed quickly in her most practical skirt and shirtwaist, then made her way downstairs. Martha was already preparing breakfast, the kitchen fragrant with coffee and frying bacon. Through the window, Olivia could see Owen in the corral again, working with yesterday's Mustang. She paused to watch as he slowly approached the animal with a saddle blanket, allowing the horse to smell it thoroughly before gently placing it on its back. "He'll be at it all morning," Martha commented, following her gaze. "That one's particularly spirited. Will it ever truly be tamed?" Olivia asked. Martha handed her a cup of coffee. "Owen doesn't tame horses, he partners with them. There's a difference." After breakfast, Martha showed Olivia around the ranch, explaining the daily operations and introducing her to the handful of ranch hands who worked the property. Most were weathered men with calloused hands and sun-creased faces, but they tipped their hats respectfully and welcomed her to White Rock. By midday, the heat had intensified, and they returned to the house for lunch. Owen joined them, his shirt damp with sweat and dust clinging to his boots, but there was satisfaction in his expression. "How's the Mustang?" Olivia asked as Martha served cold meat and bread. "Coming along," he replied, pouring water from a pitcher. "He's got spirit, but he's learning to trust. That's the hardest part. What will you do with him when he's ready? He'll make a fine cow pony for the right rider." Owen studied her. "Ever ridden Miss Weston?" Olivia shook her head. "Only in carriages, I'm afraid." His eyes crinkled. "We'll have to remedy that. Can't live on a ranch without knowing how to ride." The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. "I'd like that, Mr. Sullivan." "Owen," he corrected. "If you're going to be part of this household, formalities seem unnecessary." "Olivia, then," she replied, liking the way he nodded at the exchange. That afternoon, true to his word, Owen spoke with Mr. Peterson at the general store while delivering supplies from the train depot. He returned with news that the storekeeper would indeed welcome help with his accounts and correspondence, offering Olivia a position 3 days a week. "It's not much," Owen admitted as they sat on the porch after dinner, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple. "But it's a start." "It's more than I expected," Olivia said gratefully. "Thank you for arranging it." He shrugged off her thanks. "Peterson's a good man, fair. He'll value your education." They fell into comfortable silence, broken only by the distant lowing of cattle and the chirp of crickets in the tall grass. Olivia was struck by how quickly the ranch was beginning to feel like home, due in no small part to the man beside her. "Will you teach me?" she asked suddenly. "About horses, I mean." Owen turned to look at her, surprise evident in his expression. "You're serious?" "Entirely," she confirmed. "If I'm to live here, I should learn the ways of this land, starting with how to ride." A slow smile spread across his face, transforming his serious features. "We'll start tomorrow with Daisy. She's gentle, perfect for beginners." The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Mornings, Olivia helped Martha with household chores before heading to Peterson's store in town. Afternoons, when she returned, Owen would be waiting with Daisy, a placid chestnut mare with kind eyes, ready to continue her riding lessons. Owen proved as patient a teacher with Olivia as he was with his horses. He never rushed her progress, understanding her city-bred fear of the large animals. Instead, he encouraged each small step forward: her first successful mounting without the block, her first trot across the corral, her first venture beyond the ranch boundaries. "You're a natural," he told her one evening in late June as they returned from a ride along the creek that bordered the property. "Daisy adores you." Olivia laughed, patting the mare's neck. "The feeling is mutual, though I doubt I'll ever match your skill with that Mustang." The wild horse, whom Owen had named Thunder for his stormy temperament, was progressing well under Owen's careful guidance. Olivia often watched their training sessions, marveling at the growing bond between man and animal. "It's not skill," Owen said as they dismounted near the barn. "It's understanding. Horses are like people, they respond to how you treat them." Their eyes met over the saddles, and Olivia felt that same spark of connection she'd experienced that first day. In the golden light of sunset, Owen's eyes were impossibly blue against his tanned skin, and for a moment she thought he might say something more personal. Instead, he cleared his throat and turned to lead Daisy into the barn. "We should get these two cooled down and brushed before supper." Olivia followed, simultaneously disappointed and relieved. She'd known Owen Sullivan barely a month, yet he occupied her thoughts with increasing frequency. His quiet strength, his gentle way with animals, his unexpected depth of knowledge on subjects ranging from horse breeding to literature, all combined to create a man unlike any she'd known in Chicago. As June turned to July, White Rock celebrated Independence Day with a town gathering that included a dance in the newly constructed town hall. Martha insisted Olivia wear her best dress, a cornflower blue that matched her eyes. "Nonsense," Martha said when Olivia protested it was too fancy. "A girl should look her best at a dance." When Owen saw her descend the stairs that evening, he stopped mid-sentence in his conversation with one of the ranch hands. His eyes widened appreciatively, taking in her appearance with an intensity that sent warmth flooding through her. "You look beautiful," he said simply, offering his arm. "Shall we?" The town hall was decorated with bunting and flags, lanterns casting a warm glow over the proceedings. A small band played lively tunes and tables laden with food and drink lined the walls. Everyone Olivia had met over the past month greeted her warmly, no longer viewing her as an outsider from the East. "Miss Weston," Mr. Peterson called, waving her over to where he stood with several town elders. "Come meet Judge Harrington. I was just telling him about your fine work with my accounts." Owen squeezed her arm gently before releasing her. "I'll fetch you some punch." As Olivia chatted with the judge and other prominent citizens, she noticed several young women approaching Owen by the refreshment table. They were pretty, frontier-bred girls in colorful dresses, clearly familiar with him from years of community events. A twinge of something that felt suspiciously like jealousy pinched at her heart. When he returned with her drink, she couldn't help asking, "Do you know all the young ladies in White Rock?" His mouth quirked. "Most of them. It's not a large town." "They seem quite fond of you," she observed, trying to keep her tone light. Owen's gaze sharpened, studying her expression. "We grew up together. Nothing more." Before she could respond, the band struck up a waltz and he set down their cups. "May I have this dance, Olivia?" His hand extended toward her, and any lingering jealousy dissolved at the earnestness in his eyes. She placed her fingers in his, allowing him to lead her onto the dance floor. Owen proved to be an accomplished dancer, guiding her with the same quiet confidence he showed in the corral. His hand at her waist was respectful but warm, his steps assured as they moved among the other couples. "You dance well for a cowboy," she teased, relaxing into his lead. "2 years at school in Boston," he reminded her. "My aunt insisted I learn proper social graces while I was there." "I'm grateful to her foresight," Olivia laughed. As they twirled around the floor, their bodies moving in perfect harmony, something shifted between them. The attraction that had been building subtly over the past weeks crystallized into something more defined, more powerful. When the music ended, Owen didn't immediately release her, and for a breathless moment, Olivia thought he might kiss her right there in the middle of the dance floor. Instead, he stepped back, his eyes never leaving hers. "Would you like some air? It's getting warm in here." Outside, the July night was cool and star-filled. They walked a short distance from the hall, the music growing fainter as they approached a small garden area behind the new schoolhouse. "I've never seen so many stars," Olivia remarked, gazing upward. "In Chicago, the city lights drown them out." Owen stood close beside her, their shoulders nearly touching. "That's one thing I missed in Boston. The night sky never looked right there." Do you regret going east for school? He considered the question thoughtfully. No, I learned valuable things, but I always knew I'd come back here. This is where I belong. There was a certainty in his voice that Olivia envied. Since her parents' deaths, she'd felt adrift, untethered from the life she'd known. Yet standing here beside Owen, beneath the vast Montana sky, she felt the first stirrings of belonging. And you? He asked softly. Do you miss city life? Less each day, she admitted. There's an honesty here that Chicago lacked. People are who they appear to be. Owen turned to face her, his expression serious in the moonlight. And who do I appear to be? Olivia Weston, her heart quickened at the direct question. A man of integrity, someone who understands that true strength lies in gentleness, someone who sees the world not as it is, but as it could be. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. And is that someone you could care for? I already do, she whispered, the truth of it surprising even herself. Owen's hand came up to cup her cheek, his touch featherlight. May I kiss you, Olivia? She nodded, unable to form words as he bent his head to hers. His lips were soft but sure, the kiss tender and questioning at first, then deepening as she responded. Her hands found their way to his shoulders, steadying herself against the rush of emotion that threatened to overwhelm her. When they finally parted, Owen rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since I first saw you watching me in the corral. Olivia smiled, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. And I've wanted you to since that same moment. The sound of the band striking up another tune drew them reluctantly back to reality. Owen offered his arm once more. We should return before my aunt sends out a search party. They rejoined the celebration, but something fundamental had changed. Each dance, each shared glance, each brush of hands was charged with new meaning. When they rode home that night, Martha tactfully dozed in the wagon, giving them privacy as Owen drove through the starlit landscape. Olivia's hand clasped firmly in his. As July turned to August, their courtship blossomed in the heat of the Montana summer. Owen took Olivia on rides across the ranch land, showing her hidden meadows bursting with wildflowers and secret swimming holes where the creek widened and deepened. They shared picnics under cottonwood trees, discussing books they'd both read and dreams they'd harbored. Olivia continued working at Peterson's store, expanding her role to include ordering merchandise and corresponding with suppliers. The townsfolk had fully accepted her, no longer seeing her as just that city girl from Chicago, but as a valued member of the community. On the ranch, she'd grown confident enough on horseback that Owen suggested she try riding Thunder, who had transformed under his patient training from a wild mustang into a responsive if still spirited mount. I'm not sure, Olivia hesitated, eyeing the powerful black horse. He's so much stronger than Daisy. He is, Owen agreed, but he's also better trained now than most horses in the territory, and I'll be right beside you. Trusting him, Olivia allowed Owen to help her mount the Mustang. Thunder shifted beneath her, alert but not anxious, waiting for direction. Owen handed her the reins, his fingers lingering on hers, just like we practiced. Gentle pressure, clear signals, he'll respond. To her amazement, Thunder did exactly that, moving forward at her slight nudge, turning smoothly when she directed him. The power beneath her was exhilarating, so different from Daisy's plodding gait. This is incredible, she called to Owen, who rode alongside on his own horse. He's magnificent. Owen's face glowed with pride for the horse, for her, for what they'd accomplished together. You both are. That night, as they sat on the porch swing after dinner, Owen seemed unusually contemplative. The August evening buzzed with cicadas, the air heavy with the scent of late summer blooms. What are you thinking about? Olivia asked, her head resting comfortably on his shoulder. He was silent for a moment, his arm tightening slightly around her. The future. And what does it hold? Owen shifted to face her, taking both her hands in his. That depends on your answer to my question. Olivia's breath caught as he slipped from the swing to kneel before her. From his pocket, he produced a small ring, the moonlight catching on a modest diamond set in silver. Olivia Weston, you came west expecting to find only refuge. Instead, I hope you found a home and someone who loves you more than words can express. His voice was steady but filled with emotion. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Tears blurred her vision as joy expanded within her chest. Yes, Owen. Yes, with all my heart. He slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, then drew her into his arms, sealing their engagement with a kiss that promised a lifetime of love. Martha's joy at their news was boundless. I knew from that first day when you watched him with Thunder, she declared. There was something in your eyes, both of yours. The wedding was planned for October, when the ranching season slowed and the aspen trees turned gold against the mountains. The entire town of White Rock embraced the celebration, offering everything from hand-sewn quilts to promises of food for the reception. In September, however, their happiness faced its first serious challenge. A telegram arrived from Chicago, and Uncle Olivia barely knew had contested her father's will, claiming the small inheritance meant for Olivia's dowry. The matter required her presence in court. I'll come with you, Owen insisted when she showed him the telegram. Olivia shook her head. You can't leave the ranch now, not with winter preparations beginning. I'll go alone. Not alone, Martha interjected. I'll accompany you. It's time I visited my sister's grave anyway. The journey east was difficult for Olivia, bringing back painful memories of her parents and the life she'd left behind. Chicago seemed impossibly crowded and dirty after months in Montana, the air thick with coal smoke and the streets congested with people rushing in all directions. The legal proceedings dragged on for 3 weeks, during which Olivia received daily letters from Owen. His words sustained her through the frustration of delays and her uncle's thinly veiled contempt for her new life in the West. He called Owen a simple horsebreaker, she fumed to Martha one evening in their hotel room, as if that's something to be ashamed of. People fear what they don't understand, Martha replied wisely. Your uncle can't comprehend a life not measured by bank accounts and social connections. When the judge finally ruled in Olivia's favor, releasing her inheritance, she and Martha wasted no time booking return tickets. The westbound train couldn't move fast enough for Olivia, who found herself counting the miles until she would see Owen again. He was waiting at the White Rock station, Thunder saddled beside him. The moment Olivia stepped onto the platform, Owen strode forward, lifting her off her feet in an embrace that drew approving chuckles from onlookers. Never leave for that long again, he murmured against her hair. Never, she promised, breathing in his familiar scent of leather, pine, and open air. Their wedding took place as planned, on a perfect October day when the cottonwoods showered golden leaves like blessings upon the gathering. Olivia wore a cream-colored dress that Martha had helped her make, with lace from her mother's wedding gown incorporated into the bodice. Owen, usually seen in work clothes, cut a striking figure in a new suit, his hair trimmed and face clean-shaven for the occasion. Judge Harrington officiated in the town's small church, which overflowed with friends and neighbors. Even Thunder and Daisy were present, decorated with flowers and ribbons and tethered outside for good luck. I, Owen, take you, Olivia, to be my lawfully wedded wife, he vowed, his voice carrying clearly through the hushed church. I promise to cherish and protect you, to respect your strength and independence, to be your partner in all things for as long as we both shall live. Olivia's own vows, spoken through joyful tears, echoed his sentiments of partnership and enduring love. When Judge Harrington pronounced them husband and wife, Owen's kiss was both tender and passionate, a perfect reflection of the man himself. The celebration lasted well into the night, with dancing and feasting and toasts to the couple's happiness. When they finally departed for the small cabin Owen had built on a picturesque corner of the ranch property, their wedding gift from Martha, the entire town cheered them on their way. The cabin was simple but beautifully crafted, with a wide porch overlooking a meadow and the mountains beyond. Inside, Owen had furnished it with a combination of handmade pieces and a few quality items ordered from back east. A bookshelf stood ready for Olivia's collection, and beside the hearth, 2 rocking chairs waited for evenings of companionship. "It's perfect," Olivia breathed, turning to embrace her husband. "Absolutely perfect, life as Mrs. Sullivan quickly proved to be everything Olivia had hoped for and more. She divided her time between helping at the ranch, continuing her work at Peterson's store, now expanded to include a small lending library at her suggestion, and making their cabin a true home. Owen's reputation as a horse trainer grew, bringing clients from as far away as Wyoming and Idaho. His methods, once considered unconventional, were increasingly sought after as word spread of his success with even the most difficult animals. "It's all because of Thunder," he told Olivia as they watched the mustang, now fully trained but still spirited, gallop across the winter pasture with the other horses. "Breaking him taught me more than any horse before or since." "Because you saw his value when others would have given up," Olivia said, leaning into his embrace. "You saw beneath his wildness to the heart of him." Owen pressed a kiss to her temple. "The way you saw me that very first day." As their first anniversary approached, Olivia had news of her own to share. She waited for the perfect moment, on a spring evening as they sat on their porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of amber and rose. "I have something for you," she said, placing his hand gently on her still flat abdomen. "A new life to train and nurture, one that's part you and part me." Owen's eyes widened, then filled with such pure joy that Olivia felt her heart might burst with love for him. "A baby," he whispered reverently. "Our baby." "Due in November," she confirmed. "Dr. Collins says everything looks perfect." Owen gathered her in his arms, his touch even more gentle than usual. "I love you, Olivia Sullivan, more than I ever thought possible." "And I love you," she replied, kissing him softly. "My cowboy with the gentle hands and tender heart." As the sky darkened and the first stars appeared above their home, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought her west. What had begun with grief and uncertainty had transformed into a life richer than she could have imagined, alongside a man whose strength lay not in domination, but in understanding. In the distance, Thunder nickered to the other horses, his wild heart now channeled but never broken, much like the spirit of the West itself. And the love that had blossomed there between a city girl and the cowboy she'd watched break a wild horse without fear, his eyes soft even in the struggle.